Hello folks, my name is Carl and welcome back to my channel. A few hours ago, the Immigration Minister of Canada, Mark Miller, announced some new changes to Canada's immigration plan for the coming years. Now, the new plan is going to affect those who are interested in applying for permanent residence in Canada, or anyone that's outside Canada that's looking to come in as a permanent resident. Okay, so if you fall in this category, you might want to stick around to the very end as we delve into the details. Now, as everyone knows, Canada is a really friendly country, always trying to bring in immigrants. And right after COVID, Canada really ramped up its immigration system or immigration program to bring in a lot of foreign nationals to Canada. So Canada brought in a lot of permanent residents, they brought in a lot of temporary workers, and also allowed a lot of students to come in. Now, reports even suggest that in April this year, Canada's population was estimated to be around 41 million people. Now, it doesn't sound like a huge number compared to countries like the United States. However, if you know a bit of history about Canada, Canada was usually hovering around the 30 millions and all of that, and only got to 40 million recently. But in April 2024, Canada's population was estimated to be around 41 million people. Now, the reports also suggest that immigration alone accounted for almost 98% of this growth. Okay, immigration alone accounted for almost 98% of this population growth in 2023, and about 60% of that can also be attributed to temporary residents. So there are a lot of people coming in. Canada really opened up its doors. I'm sure most of you know people, a lot of people that got the chance to come into Canada from, let's say, 2021 up to 2023. But about also a few months ago, Canada announced that it is going to start placing a cap on the number of student visas that are issued. So Canada started announcing that it will tighten the student visas and temporary work visas as well. And today's announcement is mainly focused on permanent residents too. So Canada is serious about tightening its immigration program now to limit the number of people that are coming into Canada. Now, don't get it wrong. Canada is a really friendly country. Canada likes to welcome foreign nationals from all over the world to come in here and make a living for themselves and enjoy the country and become citizens if they so wish. However, most people would agree that this should be done in a very proper manner and in a timed approach so as not to put a lot of pressure on the system. Now, when the announcement was made about a couple of hours ago, that is one of the things that the Canadian government admitted to. Now, the government admitted that in as much as they wanted a lot of people to come in and help boost the economy and grow the economy, they sort of failed in doing this properly. Now, what they mean is that now we have a lot of people in the system, and that is putting a lot of pressure on the system itself. For example, there is a lot of pressure on the job market, and there is also a lot of pressure on the housing market. So if you are already in Canada, I know you would attest to what I'm about to say, that currently it is quite expensive to find even a one-bedroom apartment somewhere in Ontario. Now, if you're looking for a one-bedroom apartment, non-shared, it's just you're looking at paying between $1,800 and $2,000 per month. Okay, that's a bit steep. Now, this is all attributed, or most of it is attributed to a very simple understanding of demand and supply. The demand far outweighs the supply when it comes to the housing market. So the government was being criticized that, you're letting all these people come in, but you're not building any new housing. You're letting all the permanent residents come in. You're letting all the temporary residents come in. You're letting all these students come in, and they all need a place to live. They need a place to stay, to go to school. They need a place to stay, to go to work. So if they're all coming in and the government is not building any new housing, then of course it is going to create pressure on the current housing infrastructure. And when a lot of people are competing for apartments, then the rents go up. So there have actually been instances where apartments are advertised for a certain amount. Let's say an apartment is advertised for about $1,000 per month, and maybe 15 or 20 people go to see that apartment. And it turns out that a bidding war actually starts. So you'd have others offering more than what was advertised. So someone might say, you know what, I really need this apartment. You advertise it for 1,000, I'll give you 1,005, or I'll give you 1,002. Now, I'm just giving an example here, okay? I have been in that situation before where I was trying to help a couple of friends find accommodation here in Ontario. And we went to see an apartment, a very nice apartment. And the guy had advertised the apartment for 2,200. Now, when we left and he, sent him everything and everything checked out, he reached out to us asking if we could match the other, we could match an offer from one of the other parties that was interested in the apartment. So in the long run, we didn't get the apartment. Someone offered much more for that same apartment, and they got it. So there's a lot of pressure on the housing system, and people have been complaining. Another sector that's also hugely impacted is the job market. So the job market is a bit crazy right now. You might not even get a job that you are qualified for and have about 7 to 10 years of experience in. Granted your resume checks out and everything is on point, it is quite difficult to get a job. That's basically what I'm saying. So all of this puts a bit of pressure on the system, and Canadians and people already living in Canada, are feeling the heat. Now, let's get this clear. Canadians are not opposed to immigration. Canadians are very friendly people. They welcome people from all over the world. Foreign nationals from all over the world are welcome in Canada. However, there's a bit of pressure in the system, and they're venting, okay? They're venting, and rightly so. So the government admitted to this and is trying to correct this. So in trying to address this, the government has announced that going forward, it is going to reduce the number of permanent residents that come in to Canada. So if you are interested in applying to come to Canada, be quick about it. I keep telling anyone that wants to listen that if you're interested in coming to Canada, especially through express entry, which is what I will recommend, express entry ultimately leads to permanent residence. So if you're interested in coming to Canada as a permanent resident through the express entry route, you know what? Be quick about your application and be serious about it. I know people that have procrastinated for years since 2020, and it's now 2024. And I bet you if they submitted their application, they probably would be here by now. But anyway, that's just by the way. Well, let's dive more into what the numbers are going to look like going forward. So initially, Canada's plan was to bring in about 500,000 immigrants in 2025. Okay, 500,000 permanent residents in 2025. Now, with this new plan and with all the pressure in the system, Canada has decided that in 2025, it is going to cut that number down to 395,000. So this means about 105,000 less permanent residents applications are going to be approved, right? Now, it doesn't stop there. So this temporary plan is for 2025, 2026, and 2027. So in 2026, Canada plans to further cut down the number. So from 500,000 in 2026, Canada is going to cut down to 380,000. So that's a further cut in 2026. Okay. And then finally, in 2027, Canada has set a target of only 365,000 new permanent residents in 2027. Okay, so you realize the number keeps going down. Now, this plan is to slow down the population growth and allow the government to catch up, especially with housing infrastructure and trying to create more jobs generally in the Canadian system, right? So if things go well, these numbers might go back up, but if things do not go quite well, then you would expect that the government would still cut down further on this number. So again, if you are interested in applying for permanent residence, do it now. Do it now. Now, when I talk about express entry, usually a lot of people think it's for those that are outside Canada that are looking to come into Canada. You're wrong. You're very, very wrong. If you are in Canada as a student, if you're in Canada as a temporary worker, you could also apply for express entry. I have explained this in detail. Look at the Canadian Experience class. And if you have any questions, just post them in the comment section and we can tackle those questions. But do not miss an opportunity to apply for permanent residence, before these cuts set in, because then things might get a bit tougher. Okay. All right. That's just by the way. So this plan announced by the government is expected to result in a marginal population decline of 0.2% in both 2025 and 2026, before returning to a population growth of 0.8 in 2027. Now, these are all forecasted numbers, like I said. So if things go according to plan, then that's fine. But if not, you might expect that further cuts would be implemented. And as part of this plan, the Canadian government is also looking at shifting the focus more to people that are already in Canada that qualify for permanent residence. These are people that are on temporary work permits or people that are on student permits. Now, I'm going to read an excerpt of that report just so you get an idea of what the government means. Now, it says that other measures from the 2025 to 2027 immigration levels plan include the following. Now, the first one is transitioning more temporary residents who are already in Canada as students and workers to permanent residents. Now, listen, it says representing more than 40% of overall permanent residents admissions in 2025, these residents are skilled, educated, and integrated into Canadian society. They will continue to support the workforce and economy without placing additional demands on our social services because they are already established with housing and employment. Okay, so the government is basically saying that we are going to shift the focus a bit more to those that are already in Canada. So this buttresses my earlier point where I kept saying that if you are already in Canada, you could also apply for express entry as a route to get your PR, okay, which is permanent residence. So think about it and do not miss that opportunity. As the government is saying now, they're going to shift their focus to people that are already in Canada, as these people are probably already established with regards to housing and employment. So if you're a student, you've already schooled here, you've landed a job, if you're already here on a work visa, you are already integrated into the system. So it's easier for you, to sort of stay in the system and thrive in the system much more than someone who is coming from outside Canada that's yet to get integrated into the system. They will need more social services. So again, like the government said here, it puts a lot of pressure on the social services, right? So the pressure on the social services would come down when they shift the focus slightly to temporary residents. So that's the workers and the students that are already here. Okay, so it is bad news for those that are trying to come in, but it's good news for those of you that are already here. Let me repeat this, okay? If you are already here, consider applying for express entry. It is not just for people that are trying to come to Canada, but also for people that are already here. All right. And the interesting thing is Canada does admit to the important contributions that immigrants make to the country. So if you read the release, It says that according to Statistics Canada, immigrants are making important contributions across every sector of Canada's economy, namely healthcare, construction, and transportation. When it comes to Canada's residential construction sector, immigrants play a key role, accounting for 23% of all general contractors and residential builders. So like I said, Canada is not necessarily against immigration. You know, people panic a bit when they hear Canada is limiting permanent residents, or Canada is, putting a cap on students' visa application and all that. Is Canada no longer friendly? No, that's not it. Canada is friendly. Canada is just trying to slow things down so that when you eventually get here, you are able to thrive as well as Canadians or people that are already in Canada. Okay, so it creates a balance. It creates a balance rather than bring everybody in and there's pressure in the system and nobody is thriving and everybody's complaining. That doesn't help anyone. Okay, so the government is not against immigration. They're just saying, hey, we think we need to slow things down and get our balance right, bring in people slowly while we try to, support the system and make up for the deficiencies here and there. Okay, I know that the city of Toronto, in collaboration with the Ontario government, is trying their best to ramp up housing and construct more affordable housing. We are all praying that goes well, because that means rent prices would come down. And when you're a student and you're coming here to Canada, you would pay less for accommodation. So all this is with a good intention. Canada is just trying to balance things out. Okay. And finally, to buttress that last point, let me read a quote from the Immigration Minister, Mark Miller. He says that today's announcement is the next step in our plan to address the evolving immigration needs of our country. While it's clear our economy needs newcomers, we see the pressures facing our country and we must adapt our policies accordingly. These changes will make immigration work for our country so that everyone has access to the quality jobs, homes, and supports they need to thrive. We have listened to Canadians, and we will continue to protect the integrity of our system and grow our population responsibly. Okay, responsibly. So that was from the Immigration Minister. So this sums up everything in the video. Canada is indeed cutting down on the number of permanent residents that are going to be coming in. So if you are interested in coming in as a permanent resident, eventually, please start doing your research, and if you can, submit your application as early as possible. If you are already in Canada as a student or as a worker, you could also apply for permanent residence. As a student, you may have to first apply for your PGWP if you qualify for that, and then after that, you may be able to apply for your permanent residence through express entry. I have been able to guide people through that process. So when I speak about the express entry, I know it is possible. It is a bit tedious, but it is worth it. So I just wanted to share these updates with everyone. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, as it really, really helps grow the channel. We will be bringing you any updates as they come, and also help you navigate your life here in Canada. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.